Okay, this is my job. I'll try to do it quick. So we start with Rise of the Planet of the Apes, and we have James Franco as the main character. He's a scientist who's trying to create a drug to cure Alzheimer's because his father, played by John Lithgow, has Alzheimer's. So he invents this drug called ALZ-112, which they test on apes, and it gives the apes increased intelligence and problem-solving skills. When one of the apes goes rogue and attacks the scientists in the facility, they have to shut the project down. Now, they learned that she was going rogue to protect her child that they didn't know that she had given birth to. That child, that young ape, would come to be Caesar. So Caesar's mother, Bright Eyes, is put down during that altercation, and James Franco's character takes Caesar home and raises him as kind of like a son rather than a pet, because Caesar has enhanced intelligence. They learn that ALZ-112 has not only like improved the intelligence of the apes, but it's gone so far past that to like improving it to human levels. Caesar picks up sign language very quickly. He learns like human skills. He learns eating. And now Caesar eventually gets in an altercation. He fights the neighbor to protect the father, played by John Lithgow, and Caesar gets sent off to a primate sanctuary. Now, at the sanctuary, Caesar sees how apes are treated by humans, and he sees Tom Felton's character abusing the apes, and he starts to build up this resentment towards James Franco's character for allowing him to be dropped off in the primate sanctuary, but also resentment towards humans in general for the way that apes are treated as like second-class citizens, like these like animals that they can step on. So Caesar refuses his chance to go home when James Franco ultimately can break him out, which is a big character moment that we'll go into more. And he decides to stay with the apes and help them break free. He first escapes himself, steals the ALZ-112, and brings it back to give all the apes in the sanctuary enhanced intelligence. Then he organizes an escape attempt where he frees all the apes. And by the end of that movie, he has a standoff with the police on the Golden Gate Bridge. The apes break free into the forest, and Caesar, like, thoughtfully, emotionally says goodbye to James Franco's character and leaves the apes all like looking to him as their leader with a sign of respect, and they move off into the trees. So then we pick up in Dawn. Now in Dawn, we are shown that the ALZ-112, while it increases the intelligence of apes, the ALZ-112 has progressed because James Franco tried to put it into more of a viral strain, which now became the ALZ-113. And he was trying to help fix the problem because the ALZ-112 was wearing off in humans, but in doing so, he made a strain that had an increased viral load, and now it's become deadly to humans, but also spreads insanely quickly. And there's been this huge epidemic where at the beginning of Dawn, a lot of humanity's been killed off. Only those of humans that are left in Dawn are ones that were born with a genetic component making them resistant to this new strain of this virus. So those are the only humans left on Earth. A few of them wander into Caesar and his apes' territory because they're looking to start up this dam, which would give them power so that they can turn their lights back on and have electricity in their little human compound back in the city. Now, they discover that a group of intelligent apes are living in this forest when they happen upon them, and Caesar lets them go, and they make a show of force. The apes come back to the humans in the city, show their numbers, which are insane. Tons and tons of apes. They put their foot down, and they're like, humans stay here, apes stay in the forest. But the humans have to go back there because they insinuate that they're going to fall into anarchy and people are going to get hurt and die if they can't keep up the appearance of the electricity and the modern way that humans live in. Without electricity, there's going to be carnage. So they send a team back out to talk with Caesar, and Caesar's compassionate. He foresees that there will be a war, foresees the next movie, if he doesn't like work something out with the humans. So while he's letting them try to start the dam up, Koba's building resentment towards Caesar for kind of being friendly with the humans.
Koba's like, why are we letting them do this? And Caesar's saying if we don't, they're going to try to by force.
And Koba said, let them.
Yeah, and then Caesar's like, well, how many apes are going to die then?
And Koba says, well,
this is our one chance for peace.
Yeah. Koba thinks their best chance is to fight while the humans are weak and like don't have the electricity and all the weapons.
You see, as the audience, you see both sides.
Yeah, and you see on Koba's face, like he's wearing the marks of why he makes that decision.
Yeah.
But eventually that resentment builds to the point where Koba has an assassination attempt on Caesar, shoots Caesar, and Caesar falls kind of into the trees. And Koba blames that on the humans and uses that to kind of rally the apes around him, because the apes worship Caesar. Like, they respect him so much. So when he makes them believe that a human killed Caesar, he can easily convince them to go to war against the humans, and he leads this big army against the human little village in San Francisco. And lots of apes die, like Caesar predicted. Lots of humans die. There's lots of carnage. And Eventually, Caesar gets found by the small group of humans that we've come to trust, where Jason Clarke kind of brings him back into the city. They help heal Caesar's wounds, and Caesar's strong enough to go back and confront Koba, who now has all the humans in cages because the apes won that conflict. Caesar has his showdown with Koba. Caesar wins, and he leads the apes out of the city because he recognizes that the humans have used their electricity to use a radio to call for reinforcements from the north, which leads us right into War for the Planet of the Apes. Because those reinforcements that come from the north bring us Woody Harrelson's character, who is like this very imposing colonel for the humans. He's ruthless. He kills his own men. He doesn't think twice about murder. So those humans know that there's a species of intelligent apes living in the woods, and they feel threatened by them. So there's an important part of the third movie is also that they introduce the disease turning, like the disease is mutating and starting to turn humans like primitive. So that
you find that out later.
Yeah, further into the War for the Planet of the Apes. And like I said, the colonel has no problem putting these people down. So like he's shooting his own men who get infected, which sets up like the future of the world.
And he does so to prevent it from spreading.
Yes.
Like it's not like
with a motive.
Yeah, he's not just killing them to kill them. He's doing it to protect the rest of his people. But the fact that he can do it still makes him menacing.
But this disease is so important because it sets up the future of the franchise. Like the original Planet of the Apes movies are a planet where apes are in control and like humans are primitive. So like this sets up that shift. The disease mutating shows how like humans are eventually going to become the primitive ones and apes will become like the dominant intelligent species on Earth. So anyway, in a war, starts off with Woody Harrelson taking an elite wet team into the inner sanctum of the apes colony for an assassination attempt on Caesar because he thinks they'll crumble without their leader. He ends up accidentally killing Caesar's son because they look alike, and Caesar's wife too, which is Cornelia. And Caesar comes back and devastated by the loss of his family. He now feels driven by revenge, which they allude to a lot throughout the movie of him being similar to Koba because he wants revenge on the colonel. He sends the apes away to a new colony that they've been trying to find to escape the humans, and Caesar takes a small group of himself, Rocket, and Maurice on a journey to go assassinate the colonel. By the time they get to the colonel, they find out that the colonel's already captured the apes on their journey, on their voyage. He captured all of the apes from their colony, and Caesar goes to attempt to make the assassination himself. Caesar's captured, and the result of that movie is that they communicate with Maurice and Bad Ape and Rocket on the outside to coordinate an escape attempt. While the apes are escaping, another rival military faction comes and attacks the colonel's military force. The apes narrowly escape while the humans destroy each other by creating an avalanche. And then the apes find their way to their new colony and live prosperously, but Caesar, unfortunately, was wounded in the final conflict and dies having seen his people come to prosperity.
And then
I feel like that's the most succinct way I can say that because there's a lot.
No, that was pretty good.
A couple
for
minutes,
3 movies worth. Yeah, that was pretty good.